Hey everybody, welcome to the Leek. I'm John as always, and pre-releases are in full swing. It is Friday, so I'm headed to my first pre-release tonight at a new store, which is exciting, and then I've got my Saturday and Sunday releases coming up as usual at the Gamers Emporium. Yesterday I talked about the worst cards, the cards you should never put in your limited decks. So today, of course, we're going to talk about the top 10 bombiest of bomb rares and mythics that you could ever hope for in your sealed pool or in your draft decks. Up first at number 10 is Erebos Bleak-Hearted. Erebos is 4 mana for a 5/6 as long as you have it turned on, and the gods are going to be a little tiny tricky to turn on. They're not going to be difficult. 5 devotions, not too hard. In fact, you only need 4 because, of course, they count for 1 pip themselves. But the fact that they can be turned off at instant speed via removal can be a little bit problematic. But Erebos has such good static abilities that it just doesn't matter. Getting to draw a card if you want to and it can afford the life anytime a creature that you control dies is a huge ability. Anytime that's been on a card like Midnight Reaper, it's been very, very, very good. And then if you want to, being able to give something -2/-1, in addition to sacking a creature of yours, is going to be a very, very tough combat math for your opponent to figure out. And there's just the threat of activation. You actually never have to activate it. Your opponent may just not attack because you could activate it. It'll, of course, eat X1s as well, really well. There's not a ton of X1s. There's actually way less X1s than normal in this set, but the ones that are there are semi-impactful to straight-up impactful, so it is a good little ability. In addition, it's simply a sacrifice outlet, and Black-Red Sacrifice, of course, is a deck in the format for sure. So Erebos just looks like a slam dunk, one of the 10 cards that I definitely want to be opening and putting into my deck. Up next at number 9 is Pulu Kronos Unchained. Pulu Kronos at 4 mana for a 6/6 is huge. The fact that it also doesn't die to Death Touch and that it can survive a couple of combats, perhaps, albeit getting smaller, is nice, but the fact that it can fight on command is huge. Just 3 mana to be able to fight at instant speed if you want to is a very, very, very big game. This allows Pulu Kronos to probably be cast for 4 and just over the course of a couple of turns, eat a couple of 3/3s. And then if you can escape it, which should definitely be part of your game plan, coming back as a 12/12 should be pretty much the end of the game. At that point, you can fight what you need to remove, still have a giant creature most likely, and just smash in. Pulu Kronos looks fantastic. It's black-green, so it's down the list a little bit. You do have to be at least black or green and then splash one of the others if you're not a full-on black-green deck, but it's just a really good card. So Pulu Kronos number 9. Up next at number 8 is Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. If you watched my set review, I gave this a measly low A as a grade. It's not as good as Croaks. It's not as good as the other 7 cards that we've got left on this list. But it is still really, really, really good. 3 mana for a Growth Spiral and a Healing Salve is okay. And then, of course, your plan will absolutely be to recur this. You're going to be trying to get spells into your graveyard if you have this into your deck. And the fact that it can come out possibly the next turn, if everything lines up, it probably won't, but if it does, you have a 6/6, which is scary by itself for 4 mana, plus every turn it attacks, you get to gain that 3 life, draw a card, which is huge, and possibly put a land on the battlefield. At that point, that's just gravy. This card's fantastic, much like the other Titan that will certainly be on this list somewhere. This card is one of the 10 cards I must see in my pool at some point in this format. So absolute stellar card, Uro number 8. Up next at number 7 is Helio Odd Suncrowned. Helio Odd, much like Erebos, is a god, which means that if it's turned on, it's a very scary creature, but the fact that it can be messed with and turned into an enchantment again is a little bit of a problem there, but not enough of a problem to discount it because the abilities are so good. 2 mana to give a creature lifelink is a very, very, very big ability. Lifelink is one of the best sort of French vanilla creature abilities that exists. And then whenever you gain life, getting to put a counter on a creature is huge. Not to mention that there are non-lifelink ways to gain life in white as well. Helio Odd I luckily only played against once in the early access event, and it killed me. But yeah, it looks like a very good card, and I'm definitely wanting to see it in my pool. So number 7, Helio Odd Suncrowned. Up next at number 6 is Nader Kraken. Nader Kraken is very good and can get out of control. The one trick here is that Nader Kraken does take a little bit of time to get going, but not too much time. Being a 2/3 for 3 means that it's already fine, and then every single turn, if you can spare a mana, it's going to get bigger and you're going to get a tentacle, and that's going to be very problematic for your opponent. This is obviously a card that you want to get down as early as humanly possible, and luckily blue has various ways of drawing cards, meaning that you could potentially be getting multiple counters and multiple tentacles a turn. The fact that even if they answer the Kraken, there's still going to be that army of tentacles left over is a really big game. So Nader Kraken number 6 looks great. Up next at number 5 is Dream Trawler. Dream Trawler is 2 white, white, blue, blue, meaning you should probably never splash it unless you watch my Arena Early Access Sealed event video that went up a couple of days ago where I did. But in my defense, I splashed it with 2 Elysian Caryatids, plus an Altar of the Pantheon, plus a Traveler's Amulet, so I had plenty of ways to splash it. If you are base green and you have multiple Caryatids, you can splash it. But in general, this should be in a white-blue deck. But this card is absolutely insane. The fact that it attacks as a 5/5 lifelink is super powerful. The fact that it draws cards which fuels its inability to be killed is absolutely huge as well. There's so much to say about this card. I'm positive this card's going to see standard play. And in limited, if it resolves and you are not completely out of cards in your hand that turn, this is not going to die, and it is going to end games. It is absolutely crazy. Number 5, Dream Trawler. The only reason it's not above number 5 is because it is white, white, blue, blue, meaning you probably should never splash it. Up next at number 4 is Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. Kroxa is the other Titan like Uro, and this one just looks so much better. Being a 6/6 for 2 obviously is not going to be a thing that happens, but a 6/6 for 4 that escapes, we've talked about that. That's a very scary creature. That's a crazy efficient creature. Gaining life and putting a land on the battlefield is fine, but not massively exciting and not massively moving the game towards an end state. It's just you building up. Drawing a card off Uro, of course, is pretty darn decent. Hitting your opponent's hand with this and potentially hitting them for 3 as well, that's moving you towards the end state of a game of Magic. And then when this comes back, attacking your opponent, stripping them of their resources, and lightning bolting them is huge. This will end games very, very, very quickly. So Kroxa looks crazy. It costs 1 less to cast the first time than Kroxa, which is great, or than Uro. Kroxa just looks fantastic. Number 4. I must play with this card at some point in Limited. Up next at number 3 is Ashiok Nightmare Muse. Of course, a Planeswalker had to make this list. Elspeth Calyx, they didn't quite show up, but Ashiok certainly did. Ashiok is just a huge, powerful 5-mana Planeswalker. They start with 5 loyalty, which means the Planeswalker vanilla test is perfectly passed. +1, they defend themselves, which is huge. That's an absolute requirement for a Planeswalker, and boy, does Ashiok defend themselves. A 2/3 is huge, and the fact that if that 2/3 can attack, you're actually going to get more value is crazy. Ashiok's +1 is fantastic. Ashiok's -3 is not quite killing a creature, but bounce is still pretty nice, even if it's sorcery speed, and the fact that if your opponent is hellbent, it does kill the creature is a really nice upside. And then if you do get Ashiok to their ultimate, which only takes a couple of turns, being able to cast up to 3 spells from your opponent that you've ripped out in various ways, or perhaps that they have escaped with, is going to be a very big game as well. I think generally you're just going to be doing variations of +1 and -3. The -7's only going to come in if you see a way to win the game right away with those cards, or if that many extra cards being cast would put you so far ahead that you want to go for it. But yeah, Ashiok is fantastic. Minus Oko, I think Ashiok might be one of the better Planeswalkers we've seen in recent time. For Limited, of course. And yeah, it's just a nutty card. Up next at number 2 is Archon of Sun's Grace. Being a 4-mana 3/4 lifelink flyer is already huge. That's a 100% playable card, very highly pickable, absolutely great. That's like the 2/3 flying lifelinks that we've seen before for 3, +1 power, +1 toughness, +1 mana, sure, why not? Then, whenever you Constellation, which all white decks want to be doing, Getting a 2/2 Flying Pegasus with lifelink is huge. This card is crazy good. I had the chance to play with this in a sealed event that I did in the early access event after hours. I did not stream or record it, and this card is absolutely nuts, let me tell you. Yeah, there's just so much going on in white. It is the perfect white rare for every single white deck that you'll play. It does not matter what other color you're paired with. This should be the snap first pick in almost all packs. It is the second best bomb in the entire format, Archon of Sun's Grace #2. Finally, at #1, we have a card that I have had the luck to open in 2 different pools and cast at least a dozen times. Kyra bests the Sea God. And I can tell you from those dozen times, it has a 100% win rate if it gets cast. Sometimes your opponent will just immediately concede because they know that they're dead. If they don't, you have an 8/8 hexproof Kraken. Even if your opponent immediately has enchantment removal for the Saga, the Kraken's still there, and it's huge, and it's gonna be a problem. If your opponent does not immediately have enchantment removal, Sleep is going to be cast on their team. A card that is already a bomb, already ruins limited formats, as we saw in M19. And your opponent is now defenseless for almost 2 full turns. The first turn, they will be defenseless because even if they play a creature, it's going to get tapped when it becomes your turn. And then on the following turn, if they only play 1 creature, you get to steal it with step 3. So you get 2 full defenseless attacks with every creature on your board. And even if you only have the Kraken, that's typically going to be enough to kill them right then and there. And you frequently will not only have the Kraken because somehow you've survived to turn 7. Now, I died with this in hand a couple of times in that early access event, and that was because my opponents were very, very, very fast. You must build a deck around this. You must build a deck that is a little bit controlling, has the 05 turtles, has ways to live couple of turns longer than, you know, the aggro decks might want you to live, and then this just utterly turns the tides. Kyra Best the Sea God is insane. It will ruin drafts where this is in the pool. So take it, play it, win some games. Best bomb in the format, Kyra Best the Sea God. So that's going to wrap it up for my top 10 absolute bomb rares and mythics. Let me know which ones I missed, which ones you agree with, disagree with in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me over on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. You can find me at patreon.com/themanaleak if you want to become a backer there. Work your way towards earning a Mana Leak playmat. Get in the draw for the Pack 1 Pick 1 cards each week, which will include collector's packs of Theros this season. And you also get access to the Discord where we chat and hang out and share pictures of food, and people talk about Final Fantasy stuff a lot, but I don't follow that. You can go over to inkgaming.com/themanaleak if you want to let them know that I sent you there. They have fantastic playmats, dice bags, things like that. And of course, the easiest way to help out is to like, share, and subscribe. But if you do have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.